were they going to give Kratos like a machine gun or something? Like what were they thinking of doing with that game? Welcome everyone to Joust episode 4. The PlayStation 5, massive console, probably the biggest on the planet. 70 million console sales roughly. You'd have to think just by that number that everything is pretty peachy over at PlayStation, but kind of not so. What's going on is Sony has canceled 2 unannounced live service games from Bend Studio. Bend Studio formerly working on the Days Gone games, or the Days Gone game, and Blue Point Games, which has worked on various kind of remake titles. Recently, they've done the very well-received Demon Souls remake for PlayStation 5. It was a launch title. It was a fantastic game, looks gorgeous. And now they revealed, Tim, that they were working on live service games to go with the wonderful live service games that were in PlayStation's portfolio, like Concord and the like, Destruction All-Stars as well. Just games that were absolute bangers and unfortunately are no more. So what do you think, Tim? A lot of news coming out around PlayStation and their goings on and what they've been thinking about for the future. What are your thoughts on their direction?
Yeah, there was very bad direction here being given, and it's really shocking when you think about it with Blue Point Games, man. Like to put them on a live service, games as a service. I mean, it's bordering on criminal. I just can't get it. Like, okay, and to be fair, like Bend, I didn't play Days Gone, so I can't speak to it, but maybe there's like an argument, a State of Decay style spin-off game, like from what I've seen of it, like it looked like hordes of zombies, right? Like
Right.
you're trying to survive in this zombie lived world, right? So that one, I mean, kind of makes sense. It's still kind of getting away from where they're at. The Blue Point one though is just, that's on inexcusable. To kind of think that you can just switch on a dime like that, like, okay, yeah, we're the best, we are the standard setters for like third person action adventure games in a lot of ways. I mean, there's a little bit of competition out there, but I mean, Sony's just been just killing it with that, right? And then to just abandon it is yeah, it makes you shake your head.
It's almost like they thought, hey, let's make Patrick Mahomes a receiver. He's really good at being quarterback, so let's have him run a couple routes, just because they're great at that one thing. It is crazy. Well, I will say though, they were working on a God of War games as a service game. Were they going to give Kratos like a machine gun or something? Like what were they thinking of doing with that game? Or what was the game, I guess, is the biggest question. But honestly, Tim, it is sad because I think a lot of people thought maybe Blue Point, with how well they did with Demon Souls, that maybe they had the rights to do like a Bloodborne sequel or like a Bloodborne remake or something, or they kind of nailed that FromSoft style so well that, on my head I'm thinking, are they making their own sort of like Souls-like game potentially, which I think would have been fantastic and could have spun off something even bigger. But we are living in this strange reality where Sony kind of is abandoning what they do best, which is make these amazing single player games that people love. As epic as their successes are for their single players, this is probably just as epic a fail, I would say, for their games as a service venture so far. Outside of Helldivers 2, which admittedly I haven't played, but I think looks pretty cool.
I think a lot of what you said there is fair. They didn't have the content lined up. They didn't have the
Right.
cadence of releases, packs, battle passes. Like, I mean, these games of a service as a service behemoths now that you're going up against, like Sony would have almost had to take all of their games as a service efforts and combine them into maybe one or two.
Right.
Like, do you we know what Microsoft paid for Activision and for Call of Duty, and it's basically a planet that, or like a star that sucks in everything into its gravitational pull, right? There's nothing that stops it. And the other alternative is, yeah, they hit with Helldivers 2. I'd say that's kind of like a medium level success, which I think is the best that they could hope for.
Right.
out of any of these other ones, like that's the best. And they're only on our platform strategy just doesn't really vibe with these style of games anyway. So that like there's layers of problems when you look at it from Sony's standpoint on just these games need to be everywhere. You should put Helldivers 2 on Xbox. Okay, we get it. You're trying to kill Xbox.
Let's peel back the Xbox layer real quick. I think everyone here knows that, PlayStation sales are really, really outpacing Xbox. It's probably something like PlayStation has 70 million and Xbox might have like 25 or 30 right now. I'm sure it's at least PlayStation, 2 or 3 times Xbox. So let's say that. The big thing is though, PlayStation, a lot of their single player games that have been huge, like the God of Wars, the Spider-Mans, the Horizons and everything, very much focused toward like a Western audience. I think that's fair. Like even for PlayStation being a Japanese company, their biggest games have been focused on a US base, I believe. The 10, the 20, the 30 million sales those games have got. I haven't looked at the numbers, but I'm sure the vast majority of them is in the US. And the funny thing is, as many more consoles as PlayStation has sold than Xbox, I feel like Xbox is still pretty popular in the US. And PlayStation, I'm not even being sarcastic, I feel like they are literally missing out on millions of users by not putting something like a Helldivers 2 on Xbox. Seems like they're missing out on a pretty big audience, Tim.
No, I agree. I don't. Helldivers 2, like if you're going to do a games as a service, if you're really going to jump into that ring, I feel that they have a shot to take Xbox out right now. I mean, it is going to be really interesting to see how the next generation of Xbox hardware goes. But again, it would be a good practice alone to just, okay, if you're going to be serious about this, you got to put it everywhere. You got to be ready for the Switch 2. I get maybe not the Switch 1, right? That's a pretty old piece of hardware,
right?
And maybe to scale a game down that far maybe might be a bit much. Although you're still saying no to 150 million user base, which is probably not a great business strategy. But it's kind of like, yeah, you gotta. If you're gonna do it, you might as well do it, right? If you're not these single player console moving bangers, which I even have a thought on that too that we should maybe come back to as a lesson. But it's like like either do it right or don't do it at all. Like Concord, okay, would Concord have been saved by Xbox?
No.
Probably not. But like if it's was Concord even on PC? I think it was actually, because I think the Steam numbers were like,
I believe it was.
Yeah, I think it was like 80 users or so. It was insane, the concurrent number of users. So I guess they at least still did.
Our videos have more views than Concord had current views, like players on day one.
That's a sad. That is not good. That is not what you want. That's funny. But again, it's just like, if you're going to do something, you just got to do it right. And I feel that they're kind of caught in this weird middle place where they don't want to commit to something like release it everywhere and no, everything's just still on our system. And like Xbox is done playing that game. Like I don't even know why they would bother at this point. I just don't even understand why.
I actually have a thought about that. But the other thing is too, Tim, like, so it's almost like PlayStation, their smaller studios like Bend, like Bluepoint, clearly they don't want those studios doing the games as a service. It's not working. But then in the same breath, they can't have their big juggernauts working on games as a service because it's taking time away from what they do best. So it's almost like they have nowhere to go with it. And now it sounds like, Bend and Bluepoint are going to effectively become just support studios for whatever the big boys are working on. Intergalactic, the Galactic Space Prophet, whatever that game's called, and whatever Santa Monica is working on next, and probably Insomniac. So, all these wasted efforts, these studios could have been dropping games, and now we're in this loop here where there's not really going to be any new games for PlayStation outside of, Naughty Dog. It's been 4 or 5 years. It's their turn around on the wheel, and same with Ghost of Yotei is coming out as well pretty soon. But beyond that, you have to wonder what games PlayStation's even going to have now, because if these small studios aren't doing their own games and they tried games as a service and that didn't work, and now they're going into folding into bigger projects, those bigger projects are still going to be a couple years away. So like, what does PlayStation, besides Xbox exclusives that are now being shared, I don't know what PlayStation has, really to offer. Like, what's exciting me as a PlayStation fan for the next, maybe 2 or 3 years?
Yeah, those are good points. I mean, so to me, a couple of thoughts, right? Like, one thing I would do immediately if I was Sony, I'd say, okay, Blue Point, we canceled the God of War gas, live service game, whatever the hell it was. We just want you to do either a God of War OG remake or like a God of War trilogy remake, right? Like, you've already been
Right.
working in the God of War universe. They should literally be doing that right now. Like, or obviously the Bloodborne one. It's one of those two, or maybe both. I don't know. At this point, do you think Sony's asking themselves, do we even need our huge single player bangers anymore? Like, if this generation's proven anything, Sony's basically taken the generation off, right? Like, you've got no games from not Sony Santa Monica. Who does Last of Us?
Naughty Dog.
Naughty Dog, right? They've released nothing this generation. I guess you did have a Horizon game, right? And you did have Ragnarok, but in the last 2 or 3 years, what first party can't miss PlayStation 4 level banger did they have? I mean, maybe Spider-Man 2, I guess, as well.
Yeah, like
It's
what franchise was birthed only on PlayStation 5?
Yeah.
And I guess now it's
No.
it's gonna be that intergalactic game, but I'm thinking, that's probably a tail end of the generation,
Yeah.
if not a PS6 game, right?
that's to me it looked like that's at least a year or two out. So yeah,
Oh,
you're
yeah.
looking at the cancellation of factions, and then they probably started getting serious about that game. So again, like if you're Sony right now, it's like, okay, we are the default console. Like, we don't even. They've been complaining about the single player game costs going up, right? They've kind of tested it out this gen, even though that probably wasn't their vision. But like, are you sitting there right now saying, okay, we don't really need to put these out? Like, we basically put out nothing this generation, and we're still running away with it. So
Right.
do we even need to try anymore? Like, I don't. It's just something to think about. Like, I don't like, I mean, they probably still take pride in some of their studios, and obviously you don't shut down a Naughty Dog or a Sony Santa Monica, but I wonder if they're looking at things and just saying, let's just keep. We're the default console. We can get the Fortnite DLC microtransactions. We can get the COD microtransactions, and let's just not really worry about a lot of this. And games are more expensive now, right? So it's like, I don't know. It's something that I would probably be thinking about if I was them. But we'll see.
Yeah, it's just sad. I mean, and it kind of brings you back to the whole Xbox versus PlayStation thing. Now that Xbox is kind of throwing their hands up, they're cranking out more than they've ever have. And now that PlayStation can basically breathe a sigh of relief, they're just going to... There's no pressure to do anything. I almost... And you mentioned, Tim, that they're the default console. I almost don't know what PlayStation even has to lose by throwing Xbox a bone and taking whatever percentage off of every sale on, like, putting Spider-Man on Xbox or putting God of War on Xbox. Like, what is it ultimately going to hurt? Like, Xbox is not going to make a comeback against them. Xbox is not going to, outsell PS6. So I don't really understand what it would hurt.
Yeah, I agree. I don't think it would cost them a penny, and it's
No.
the ones that have been ported to PC, right? You've already done the work of at least having it in one different platform. So the work to get it on Xbox at that point is probably minimal. So Yeah, but again, I think they got that old school mentality of it's it'll over our dead bodies. Is this going to be
On
on our Xbox?
Xbox.
So yeah, I mean they can do that. I think that I do think that Microsoft may end up being right in the long run with their strategy, but right now it just you have to wonder. It's like, man, if you could have just had these games lined up in like 2021, 2022, boy, it would have been interesting to see
Yeah.
how things would have shook out this gen. But they just, it's too late now. Like we're 5 years, 4.5 years in, and PlayStation's at like 65, 70 million sold. So that, like, yeah, it is kind of this gen's kind of over. What are you going to do? And you can't even drop the price, right? Like with the prices of silicon and you can't even it's not even like you can drop the Series X to $300 and the Series S to like 150 or something. They can't even do that. So
Yep.
I don't know. Literally, this generation's lost. It is over.
Yep.
So yeah.
No, I was just gonna say, and when you kind of look to the future a little bit here, Sony, for all that they just did with canceling these games and moving Blue Point and Bend, it looks like they're still moving forward with doing some of these live service games. I mean, they still plan to have 12 live service games by the end of 2025 fiscal year. So some could drop in 2026, but
Yeah, but is that still? You think that's still?
or
I
sorry,
don't.
it was revised to 6, so still,
Oh boy.
yeah, but it's and is or one of these games, maybe the game by Haven Studios, which is that Fair Games. I'm gonna throw a guess out there and say that does nothing and
Yeah,
ends up dying.
that
That'll
unrivaled.
Concord 2.0 would be a guess there. I don't even have a ton of faith. Just real quick, Tim, like Marathon, like Bungie, they seem like a studio to me that is kind of at this point maybe should have been like retired a couple years ago, but I don't see Marathon coming in and really doing anything either. But I guess of all the lives or all the games as a service studios that Sony has, Bungie would be the one to maybe have a chance at a breath for doing anything.
Oh, I would definitely agree. Bungie should have the best opportunity, and I mean they've done this. They've kind of created a genre with Destiny. Maybe I don't know if that's a fair statement or not, but you can't deny Destiny and Destiny 2 were pretty successful, and they
Yep.
set a lot of trends and did a lot of things right. And that Fair Games game, I think that game's dead on arrival. I
Yeah.
mean, oh boy, they're in a bad situation there. It's like, do you try to advertise that game? Do you try to like build it up after Concord? Just it would. Yeah, boy, they are in a tight, tough spot there. I'm curious how they play this one.
I personally think that while they would have had to put a lot of work into it, I think that Last of Us Factions probably would have been a big success if they could have figured it out. And originally I remember Last of Us Factions was supposed to drop, and there was rumors and stuff, but I believe it was supposed to come out around the same time that the TV show was out. And man, I really feel like around that time, because that TV show was so big when it came out, that the iron was so hot that I really think if they had that game right and they were prepared and stuff with that game, that Last of Us Factions would have been very, very big. Probably Helldivers big, and they would have had something going for them with that. But yeah,
Completely agree. Yeah, the show, which was fantastic. Yeah, that would have been a hell of a 1-2 punch. Like,
yep.
kind of how you wish Microsoft had something with Fallout ready.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I mean, there'll be other seasons, I guess. But I don't know. I mean, if Naughty Dog's doing this intergalactic game, I don't see how they're ever gonna get a game in a launch of one of the seasons lined up at this point. It just doesn't seem like it's going to happen unless we get the Last of Us 1 or 2 remaster 3 for the third or fourth season launch. I guess. Yeah, I don't know what they're going to do there. Yeah, it just doesn't seem like that's ever going to match up.
They should launch like Intergalactic Remake and then launch Intergalactic like the original game after that, maybe like a year or something.
Yeah, that's not a bad idea. Just go straight to the remake and just say, yeah, hey, we're this is the upscaled, prettier version. So yeah, I don't know. It's interesting. I am definitely curious when that game's come out. I wonder how far out it actually is. Did they feel the need to kind of show some stuff off just to get the fans in it a little bit? But honestly, at this point, I don't even think they have to.
Nope.
It just seems like they're the default. I guess my last thought too with some of that is if Xbox does eventually get to where they want to get with cloud, like really, what is an exclusive at that point anyway, right? Like if I can just launch an app on my TV and play Indiana Jones, who cares if it's on PlayStation or not? I mean, it's not like you need a PlayStation to play it anyway. So I think I get Xbox's vision there. It's just isn't. It's still a little new in a way, I guess, maybe different, but yeah, they're gonna be selling copies. I can't wait to see what Horizon 5 does on PlayStation. I'm very curious because that game is a good game.
Yeah, I am too. I think it's going to sell very well, and I think it's going to definitely embolden Microsoft to get some more games over to PlayStation ASAP. I'm sure. There was a official trailer with the date drop for Metal Gear Solid Delta. Did you see that by chance?
I did not see that. Holy hell! What? No. What's up?
So they dropped the release date trailer. It will be out August 28th this year.
Oh, wow. August, huh? Okay. I mean, actually a little later than I thought it was going to be.
Yeah.
I was thinking, maybe April, May here, but August is usually an empty month, so I'm all right with that. I'll be there day one. That's sweet. I'm gonna need to watch that. I didn't. Yeah, thanks for the heads up.
Yeah, check that out. Everyone, thank you so much for being here. If you have any thoughts on this topic, leave your thoughts in the comment section below. We will discuss it more. We will see you guys next time. Tim, do you have anything else for the people out there?
Oh, just keep on gaming there, boys. Yeah, not really. Go Pens, maybe. I don't know.
That works. All right. Thank you, Tim.
Yep. All right, buddy.
See you,
See
man.
you.